This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025, as Monday Night Raw has concluded. It concluded last night and was in the Barclays Center, I believe, in Brooklyn, with a pretty big show, especially to close the show. No Brock Lesnar, but if you've listened to me and you've watched Brock Lesnar over the last 15, 20 years in WWE, you knew that he's not going to be there very often, very sporadically. Still, people are up in arms about WWE and their decision to bring Brock back. You guys know where I stand on that. I am fully supportive of WWE bringing Brock Lesnar back. And they have a whole legal team that has gone over this. And if this ends up blowing in their face, you know, if Brock Lesnar is indicted and there's a trial or anything like that, then this is on WWE's legal team, who have presumably, reviewed all the files and the evidence in the case, and perhaps this is going to arbitration and it's just going to be a non-factor, and that's their prerogative. That said, we now have Brock Lesnar back in the company, and I've alluded to last night, if you listen to the SummerSlam review for night 2, I said that there's a lot of matches that WWE could put together now with Brock Lesnar back in the fold. The roster has changed a lot since he was last in the company a couple of years ago. Fresh new faces, some returning faces, some that have a lot of history with Brock Lesnar, with Roman Reigns, with CM Punk and Braun Breaker and Gunther, just to name a few. So I think we'll get a lot of fun. And obviously John Cena, that'll be the first one up before John Cena calls it quits. And he's going to do that in just a few months, sadly, as he wraps up his career in WWE. So I think it's going to be a fun ride, despite what you think of Brock and everybody that says they're not going to watch the WWE again. And we all know it's performative. We all know they'll be saying the one thing and doing another. The thing is, being a wrestling fan doesn't get out of your blood. Being a wrestling fan, it just sticks with you for most of us. And even if you leave wrestling, I've talked to so many people that have left wrestling and they end up coming back. They end up coming back because it stays in your blood. So if you don't think a name like Brock Lesnar is going to bring people back and tuned in, I mean, then you don't understand what star power means for any organization, for any industry. Star power will forever and always be the driving force for ratings. So certainly Brock being back on a semi kind of occasional basis is going to be a big deal. And when he shows up, it's going to be a big deal. But also positioning Brock, at least on paper, as the heel against John Cena, a smart call, because number one, John Cena wasn't going to get booed against anybody at this point, because no one's going to believe any heel version of John Cena anymore, and they're just here to enjoy John Cena and give him our flowers for the next 4 months, and then say thank you when he leaves, and we all get all warm and fuzzy inside. So you might as well just go with the current, and they have. But putting Brock against him, not just because of that reason as a heel, but also because of the potential blowback of the ongoing litigation where Brock Lesnar's name is mentioned, is a smart call. Because if people are going to boo him in person and they're booing him because of that reason, well, then it fits right in with the narrative of him just being a heel. So I think they should keep him heel, even though if people want to cheer him, they'll cheer him, but at least you have the cover of him being a heel. If people decide to turn, well, who cares? Because he's on paper, he is a heel. So I think that's going to be fun. And we've got a lot to talk about, not with SummerSlam, as we've covered, though, all the last 2 episodes with night 1 and night 2, but really Monday Night Raw, that's what this is for. Then if you want to join us on the ad-free version side of things, you can head out over to Patreon, patreon.com/WWE podcast, where you can go ad-free for $1 a month, and benefits go up from there. All right, so let's start with it. All right, let's start with Monday Night Raw that emanated, as I said, from Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And we have the SummerSlam package of the review of everything, every big item that happened. We had Seth come out with this whole group, and we have CM Punk chants, and Heyman introduced himself. He pointed to the championship belt and said it's evidence that he's the GOAT. Heyman said he's not just the greatest of all time, he is your humble oracle. He spoke about being humbled by being in the presence of Braun Breaker and the tribal chief Reed. And because of, Bronson Reed has taken the shoes of Roman Reigns twice. Now, I guess that's a sign of disrespect, I've been told. So it reminds me of, remember when Zelina Vega would slap her opponent in the face with a shoe? I guess that's a customary disrespect in Puerto Rico, which, again, I'm not from Puerto Rico. Why would I know this? But a sign of disrespect is taking someone's shoes. Is that just, what culture says that's disrespect? I mean, it's illegal. I mean, the law says it's illegal, but I don't know if in America we decide that it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful in the sense that it's someone's personal property, but I guess in other cultures there's a deeper meaning of taking someone's shoes that I'm not privy to. However, we get Bronson Reed, who's just after all of Roman Reigns' shoes. So we have, let's see, Heyman said that this is the point where he would introduce Roman Reigns, but Heyman said he hasn't been champion for a year and a half, and he said he would be introducing CM Punk as the champion, but Punk wasn't champion long enough to have side plates put on the belt. Kind of a good line. And he said Punk had one of the greatest matches with Gunther, and said Rollins not only crashed the wedding, he stole the honeymoon with the title, and she was good. Heyman delivered a big introduction for Rollins as the new champion and then handed him the mic. And Rollins said, "Shame on you. Shame on everyone who turned their back on him after he won the main event of WrestleMania." He said, "Shame on everybody who taunted him," and said the lesson is that people should never doubt him again. He said he's been a marked man for months. He said shame not only on the fans, but every person in the locker room who made it their mission to stop him from successfully cashing in his money in the bank. And said everybody backstage think they're so smart. And he said he always has a plan B. And this plan B was top secret. He said he told two people in the world, his wife and Paul Heyman. Rollins said they achieved absolute power and no one can stop them. This is the way forward. This is the vision. Okay. So he just, essentially says, I fake my injury and it's plan B, except it's the worst kept secret. I mean, he did fool a lot of people that were still of the belief that this was work. I was in that camp up until the last week where I said this is just unprecedented, that we don't have any kind of time frame. We've heard nothing. That's a big clue that and a big hole they missed in the logical step of things when there's a normal, real injury. So if they want to fool us better next time, that's the part where they fell down. But most people were very skeptical. So to say it was, everyone thinks they're so smart. Well, you didn't really outsmart a lot of people. There was a large portion of the audience that thought this was a work. So that said, though, it was cool. And it was the most convincing worked injury that I've seen in a long time. They just had some plot holes, as I said, that were missing that would have made it ultra convincing. So anyway, LA Knight comes out to a really big pop. I was very encouraged by that pop for LA Knight. Very, very nice reaction from the Brooklyn audience. And he congratulated Rollins and Paul Heyman and morons. And he said he wasn't there for a fight. He was there to get some answers. And said that people wondered why Rollins had to fake an injury when he had the Money in the Bank briefcase. That was a good point brought up by Knight. He said that Rollins faked the injury to avoid Knight's threat of taking his dignity. Knight reminded Rollins he was the last person to beat him, and he said he would be the next person to beat him, and said there was no better place or time, and he wanted to face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship right now, tonight. And Rollins said no, and that's when Adam Pearce comes out, and that's when he said that normally he wouldn't make a World Championship match without any promotion, but normally a wrestler wouldn't have his medical team lie to the WWE medical team. And Pearce said to hell with normal. He said Rollins would defend the championship against LA Knight, and since Rollins stole a great moment from the fans at SummerSlam, it's only appropriate that he steals something from Rollins, where Pearce said that Reed Reed and Breakker were banned from ringside. That was a nice moment. Maybe the best moment Adam Pearce has had. And I mean that in the sense of a general manager role where he just laid down the law, and instead of going ballistic as he does every single week, I mean, he's got the hottest head of any GM I've seen. He's constantly screaming and yelling, but he laid down the law in a way that a baby face, or not even a baby face, just a general manager, a neutral general manager should. You know, you lied to us, you're going to pay the price. Period. End of story. And I really enjoyed that from Adam Pearce. That was a nice moment for him. So that was good. Now, we then have the backstage segment here with Dom and JD and Finn and Roxanne. And Dom was boasting about beating AJ Styles at SummerSlam. And Rodriguez told Perez they should go regroup. And Dom, Balor, and McDonough spotted LWO members Dragon Lee, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro, and Dom asked what they were doing in his hallway. Lee challenged Dom to a match, and Dom said he was on. AJ Styles showed up after the LWO trio left, and Styles said what Dom did with his boot at SummerSlam was clever, and said he was still coming after Dom. And he said Dom would run out of tricks, and his time was running out. Cool. I mean, I'm fine with Dom and AJ continuing their program until AJ eventually wins the Intercontinental Championship, which is a real possibility the next time they meet, which presumably, but not confirmed, is at the Clash in Paris event on August 31st. So I think that would be a nice rematch. AJ Styles, it'd be a nice kind of, not send-off for AJ. He's not retiring yet, but one of the last remaining runs with any championship for AJ would be a nice run with the Intercontinental title, and taking it from Dom would be there'd be no shame in that. Dom's had a nice little run here. So Clash in Paris would be a very plausible place for AJ to take the belt from Dom. But also, if they want to keep the belt on Dom, the fans are starting to love the Eddie Guerrero tribute finishes that he's doing. And I think the fans are just tired of cheering or booing Dom. So Sheamus and Rusev is the first official match for Monday Night Raw, and they fought to a double countout in 10 minutes. And it happened after we had Rusev grab him from behind and hit him. I'm sorry, Sheamus hits the 10 beats of the whatever it's Bowdrin. I don't know what the 10 beats, whatever it is. And then both men were counted out because they weren't paying attention to the referee. And after the match, Rusev grabbed part of the ring steps, slammed him into the head of Sheamus. Rusev grabbed the shillelagh, but Sheamus hit him with a brogue. Everybody's trying to pull them apart. And that was a nice little pull apart, right? Again, I think generally pull aparts have been used too much, but it's been a hot minute. So I'm fine with pull apart being used here, that method being used here, because these two are just brawlers. They're stiff, respectable workers that have a long history. And I would imagine their next program is their last, or their next match is their last. And I don't know what kind of match it's going to be. It's got to be a no-holds-barred match at the bare minimum. So a Clash in Paris, again, presumably, you would think that they're going to go no DQ. I don't want cage match, because cage matches have become a soft version of just a regular match. I mean, I'm sorry, cage matches have really softened over the years because of the stipulations of how you can win. But I think at the bare minimum, it's that. Bare minimum, it's a no-holds-barred or street fight, however they want to phrase it. And I'm looking forward to it because these two, it's reigniting something I didn't think I'd want to see. And I like it. I'd like to hear a little bit more from Rusev on the mic, though. You're not getting a whole lot of logic, or rather reasoning from him, is probably a better way to put it. It's just they want to fight because they want to fight, and they have a long history, but I'd like them to pull on that history. It'd be nice to see, hey, this is what they did 10 years ago. Remember? League of Nations? and more than that, I mean, they were, I believe, tag champions. They were enemies. So that'd be fun if they could pull on the history. I would. So then footage aired of earlier in the day, Kofi and Xavier wearing ridiculously over-the-top garb while continuing to mourn the loss of their tag team titles. Grayson Waller showed up and asked where they were the week before. Kingston blamed Adam Pearce for not giving them what they deserved. So then we get the next match here. Penta versus Grayson Waller. Penta beats Grayson Waller in 8 minutes and 20 seconds after he hit a destroyer. Not the best executed one, but he hit one nonetheless that beat Grayson Waller for the 1, 2, 3. And I like the fact that a destroyer is being used as a finish. It, like so many other previous finishers, has recently in the modern era been redefined as just a transition move, as kind of like an impact power move that never does actually finish a match. And now that they're bringing this back potentially as a finish, it makes sense. It's a nice looking, devastating maneuver. And yeah, sure, it wasn't executed great, but it's a believable finish. And I'm glad that this was something that happens every once in a while. And it did here. So after the match, though, Kingston and Woods entered the ring and they bickered with Penta. Kingston knelt down to check on Waller. Woods got cocky with Penta, who pushed him into Kingston. And then Penta cleared the duo and he put Woods' giant hat on, and then he threw it Frisbee style perfectly into the New Day on the floor. I don't know. I mean, seeing Penta with a giant hat was funny. I wouldn't mind if that suddenly becomes a thing. I would actually like to have seen him do like the salsa with it. Just add a little humor. But seeing him with the hat was actually funny and somehow fits. So if this can become a thing, maybe there is something there. You never know with weird stuff like this what's going to catch on. But that big hat, if Woods can bring it back next week and Penta gets a hold of it again, they could make this a little cute thing that see where it goes, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's probably one and done, but you never know with weird oddball things like this that happen, what's going to catch on. But yeah. So we then had the next match here. Corey Graves and Cole were shown at the table. Cole said Nick Khan and Paul Levesque told him they reached out to Lesnar a number of weeks ago and told him they thought it was time for him to come home. Cole said they told him that Lesnar said, quote, "Let's do it." Cole hyped John Cena for Friday's SmackDown, and Graves hyped World Championship match for later in the show. So that's the explanation we got, is it's time for Lesnar to come home. I know that's going to satisfy absolutely nobody that doesn't like Lesnar here. I mean, that doesn't do anything for anyone. So they just, it's time to come home. And Lesnar's like, okay, I want more money. That's it. By the way, I think Lesnar's merch is the top 3 selling items on WWE Shop. So if you think the WWE is going to rescind their decision to bring Brock Lesnar back, yeah, you've got another thing coming. Outside of a bombshell, unexpected twist in this lawsuit that somehow, it completely indicts Brock Lesnar in wrongdoing, where he's got legal action to the point of criminal and or civil. They are not going to touch Brock Lesnar. He's a magnet for attention, even if it's negative. And I think it's a net positive ultimately. As I've said many times, you cannot like the decision from a personal perspective because he was named in a lawsuit. But here's the thing. Just because you're named in a lawsuit 44 times doesn't automatically make you guilty of anything. It just means someone mentioned you 44 times. Last time I checked, that's not illegal. And there's no criminal or civil case right now against Brock. So, okay, bring him back. All right. So, I know it's hurting a lot of people's tummies that he's back, but, honestly, grow up. So, we have, let's see here then. We have, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair come out. You Deserve It chant broke out. Flair said, yes, she said, that might be her first You Deserve It chant, and thanked Brooklyn for that and said it felt amazing to be champion again. Bliss said she thought Flair meant it was amazing for the two of them to be champions, and Flair conceded it was nice, and Bliss thought Flair was about to say the F word, friendship. Flair, not Blair. Flair said Bliss, I don't know why that's such a tongue twister, is a pain in her A word. Okay. So fine. They got a little tit for tat. They're not going to call each other friends. Alexa wants it more than Charlotte. A little coy with who's going to say they're friends or not. It's an innocent enough storyline. It's a lighthearted storyline that Charlotte is in desperate need of to continue the fans on their blindness to suddenly adoring Charlotte or respecting, or at least not hating her. You deserve a chant for Charlotte. When's the last time that happened? She's exactly right. And from Brooklyn, of all places. Again, I'm happy for Charlotte, who's finally getting some respect from the crowd because she's not talking that much now. And when she does, it's lighthearted. It's with Alexa Bliss, who's very well liked by the fans. She's in a nice, safe spot right now. Not in the women's title picture. I've explained this before in my previous shows. So it's a nice spot for Charlotte and again, and Alexa Bliss. Not that they're going to be champions for very long, because nobody is with the women's tag team titles. So they took on Raquel and Roxanne with the women's tag team titles on the line. And this match went almost 13 minutes with Charlotte and Alexa retaining the titles. The finish was Blair sidestepping Rodriguez. Flair knocked her off the apron with a big boot. Roxanne sent both champions to the floor and then set up for a suicide dive, but Alexa turned it into and cut her off into a Sister Abigail and got the victory. I think this is a nice run here again for Alexa, who is doing the most relevant thing she's done since returning to the company. And as I said, for Charlotte, taking a breather. It's like her career is taking a deep breath, not a pause. It's taking a deep breath and a much more relaxed story. That's what I think she needs. You know what else I think she needs? Believe it or not, and this is something maybe just generally, not specifically for Charlotte, but where's a love story? Where's, one of the male wrestlers chasing one of the female wrestlers, courtship, teasing, are they going to get together, are they not? It doesn't have to be like an Otis and Mandy Rose story with Dolph Ziggler spoiling the day on Valentine's Day, if you remember that. A Beauty and the Beast, a modern day Beauty and the Beast. It can just be you see some flirting. Not necessarily nefarious, nothing like with Dom cheating on Rhea with Liv, and then Dom potentially cheating on Liv with Roxanne. Nothing like that. It can very much be just a love story, and it doesn't need to last long. But it's something they haven't done in a while, and it's, I think occasionally it's fun to see who has chemistry, see what happens, see some of the tension build. Again, I'm all for wrestling and stuff, but love stories in pro wrestling is not groundbreaking. It doesn't need to be the focal point. It's just a suggestion that it's been a while. Yeah, just a pure love story where these two wrestlers seem to have tension and they fall for each other, and nothing nefarious, no cheating, just a regular love story. All right, I don't know, just a weird thought. So we then have Io Sky, who was talking with Asuka and Kairi Sane when Rhea interrupted and asked for a word with Io. And Asuka and Sane left, and then Rhea said she heard that Sky went to Adam Pearce and asked for a singles match for the women's world title. Sky said she didn't get pinned at SummerSlam. Ripley said there's nothing she would like more than to finally beat Sky and take the title from her. Sky stopped her as Ripley was about to leave and told her that she would never beat her. So interesting. Io and Ripley with some real tension there. And then we get backstage Valkyria catching up with Bayley and told her she didn't want to hear her excuses. Valkyria said she screwed things up. And now for Bayley, now who screwed things up for her. Valkyria said they're not good for one another and said they're not friends and told Bayley to stay out of her life forever. Valkyria is becoming very unlikable very quickly. But we then have the fourth match of the night. Dom versus Dragon Lee in a non-title match here. No Intercontinental Championship on the line. This match went 8.5 minutes with Dom beating Dragon Lee. Nice to see a champion get a non-title victory. Typically, it's a champion in a non-title match loses the match so that ex-wrestler can have a claim to the number one contendership since they beat the champion in a non-title match. So it's nice to see that every once in a while. But the finish was, let's see here. The Americanos. There were 3 Grande Americanos in this match. That's right. We had, let's see here. The first El Grande Americano ran out, climbed down the apron. The second showed up. Lee knocked both of them off the apron. A third one arrived and took a cheap shot at Lee while the referee was focused on the other 2. And then Dom took his boot off and hit Lee with it, and the referee turned around and countered the pin. Counted, not countered. And then after the match, Dom set up to hit Lee with his boot, but AJ comes out, chased him off, and AJ ended up with Dom's boot and threw it at him. AJ Styles shook hands with Lee. I want to say, how is the boot in your hand, using your arm to swing it, less devastating than using your foot to kick somebody in the chin for a super kick? That doesn't compute. The math isn't mathing there. The physics don't physic. That's not a thing. But you get my drift? Whatever. It's fine. It's just fine. My logical brain takes over sometimes, but it's wrestling. So we have 3 Grande Americanos. I don't know where this is leading. I don't even care. I don't think they know. It doesn't need to lead anywhere. It's just funny to see. This isn't a major storyline. It's not a main thread story. It's a little bit of comic relief. But at the same time, with Chad Gable being the original Grande Americano, you know that you're going to get a quality match. Dragon Lee and the Americanos, and it's all kind of just lighthearted stuff. I think this is not leading anywhere. I don't know if there's an actual plan. I highly doubt it, but it's fun. So Sami Zayn spoke with Jackie Redmond backstage and said his win over Karrion Kross wasn't about proving him wrong. Zayn recalled having the pipe in his hand and assumed that Kross, Scarlett, and some people would have liked it if he used it. Zayn said it would have felt good if he did. He said it's not about who he is, it's about who he wants to be. And said he wants to be a world champion, and he will be, but he wants to do it right. Okay, so the Zayn world title story continues. It continues, and that's fine with me if the goal is to ultimately put Sami Zayn in a position to be world champion. This is going to bleed into nothing. I think the fans are going to be very disappointed. This story has been brewing for quite some time. He's always the bridesmaid, never the bride, underdog, underground, the underdog from the underground, and all the rest of it. Certainly a story that they can tell here with Sami Zayn. I think the fans will get behind it. I do wonder, though, if Kevin Owens, by the time Sami Zayn is ready to win the world title, if he has something to say about it. Whether he helps or hurts Sami Zayn, we've seen them turn on each other 400 times. But I don't know what the timing is and how Kevin Owens' recovery is going. I would imagine we're still a year off from Kevin Owens coming back. So it's probably the answer is no. But if they go to WrestleMania in April, does that give Kevin Owens enough time to potentially have something to say here with Sami Zayn winning the world title for the first time? Maybe. I'd put it in the realm of maybe. So Sheamus and Rusev brawled into the area, bumped into Zayn, and that was that. So then we have the interesting part of the night here that a lot of people are talking about with Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria in this promo battle. Or I'm sorry, Becky Lynch, not Lyra, and Nikki Bella. So Becky Lynch comes out with her new entrance song, which is okay. I'm getting used to it. Graves praised the song by the Wonder Years, and who are hopefully working on a song here for Lynch's heel husband. But anyway, Lynch boasted that Lyra won't be getting additional title shots, and Lynch said it's time to open the floor to new competitors. And that's when Nikki Bella interrupts and said that Lynch is one of the greatest of all time. And it was easy to step aside because the women's division was in good hands of Lynch, who thanked her. Yes, Nikki, the entirety of the women's division, the very integrity of the women's division was relying on you to step aside. Yes. The weight of the women's division was on your shoulders, Nikki. Yes, absolutely. And when you left, there was just a big gaping hole that we did not know how to fill. I mean, we were lost for years because of the great Nikki Bella and Brie Bella who left. We did not know how to cope. But you were gracious enough to step aside and let others come up and take your spot as you bravely pave the way. Give me a break. She is high on her own supply. There's no doubt. So, by the way, somebody said Nikki Bella has a son, not a daughter. But I thought it was a daughter. It doesn't really matter to me because, I mean, my point about her a couple of weeks ago saying that she came back primarily for her, now I guess, son, whoever, her offspring, to compete in front of them, I can absolutely, on a human perspective, on a human level, respect that. But the idea that she carried the women's division or was any kind of trailblazer in the women's division is that it's a joke. In what way? I don't know. Okay. I guess I'm just one of those ignorant men she's talking about. But Nikki said Lynch turned out to be such a disappointment and accused her of handcuffing the next generation. She said, yes, Nikki. Becky Lynch is a disappointment. You know, the same woman that co-main evented the first ever women's WrestleMania. She was the first ever women's match to main event WrestleMania. She was a part of that. Were you, Nikki? Yeah, no, I didn't think so. Yes, the hottest act in pro wrestling just 6-7 years ago was Becky Lynch. Can you even entertain that idea as Nikki Bella? Yes, such a disappointment. Yes, Becky Lynch has been such a disappointment that she's a walk-in Hall of Famer, that people will regard her as one of the best of all time, that she has had some of the greatest matches in women's wrestling history in WWE. Her matches with, one of them with Ronda Rousey, the heel turn at SummerSlam 2017, I think it was 2017, against Charlotte. The matches she had with Sasha Banks. Yes, all of it. Certainly, she's such a disappointment. So, she asked Lynch if she came back because she was jealous of watching Valkyria kill it. No, that's not it. Or because Hollywood isn't what she thought it would be. And Lynch reminded Nikki about her role in Happy Gilmore 2. And then Lynch recalled Nikki being on the set and then reminded her scenes were cut from the movie. And Nikki said she's not buying what Lynch says and accused her of being a liar just like her husband. And Nikki said everyone bought Seth's lie, but no one buys Lynch's lies. And Nikki said Lynch is some scared little girl. It's the same scared little girl she was when she entered the division. Yes, so scared that she's been here, for the better part of a decade. Truly a trailblazer in the women's division. One of the faces of the women's division. Still a face of the women's division. Again, main event of WrestleMania. The resume goes on. Yeah, so scared. She's so scared and disappointing. Yes, of course. This is so illogical from Nikki. But here's where it gets good, and everybody is, reacting to this. So Lynch told Nikki not to talk about her hot husband, and Lynch claimed that she and Rollins are the greatest wrestling couple of all time, and said that that would have been Nikki and someone else at one time, but Nikki can't see him anymore, that was a good line. And the fans popped big, and Nikki smiled and nodded. I mean, it's a great moment. I mean, Nikki got fried there. Just as the kids would say, she got cooked. Lynch said that when she came up, she did it to combat Nikki's era. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. I mean, that is the essence of what's happening here. That's at the essence of this rivalry. Lynch represents an era that was fighting against what Nikki's era represented. Nikki's era represented the sanitized version of the sexualized attitude era for the women. One that was coveted with 2-minute matches still and butterfly championships. Lynch was one of the true faces of the change towards respecting women's wrestling. Lynch represents what women's wrestling should be. Nikki represents a division that wrestling should never again be for the women. That's the big difference here. Nikki is still a face of that division. And yes, maybe Lynch should have also said, speaking of little girls, how old are you, Nikki? And you still come out here and do your stripper pole dance? I'm sorry, who's the young girl that still wears a backwards hat? I'm sorry, remind me again? Can you tell I don't like Nikki Bella? I know I'm hiding it a little bit. I'm being a little bit facetious. I should probably be a little more open about how I feel. So Nikki said Lynch was afraid to face her during her era, then challenged her to a title match, and Nikki led the crowd in a yes chant. Okay. Lynch, what's sad? Nikki has to prompt the fans to do and say things for her. You know what I mean? She has to look to the crowd for a reaction instead of the crowd just reacting organically. They're like, oh, you need us to do something. Gotcha. We'll do it. It's sad. But Nikki led the crowd again in a yes chant, and Lynch said she and Nikki never went one-on-one, and she sucker punched Nikki, which was funny. That was a true sucker punch. It was good. All right. So Naomi was backstage. She warned everyone that she would leave SummerSlam with the title and said she would defend her title against Io on Raw next week. We all know that's not going to go anywhere, which is fine. Naomi should have the title for the next 5 months. All right. Stephanie Vacour showed up and said she would face the winner of Naomi and Sky for the title at Clash in Paris, which is true. Let's see here. We then have the following matchups for next week's Raw in Quebec City, which is Sami Zayn versus Rusev and Naomi versus Io Sky for the World Championship. And LA Knight was shown backstage. And then, let's see, we had LA Knight versus Seth Rollins, of course, for the World Heavyweight Championship. This match went 14 minutes, but this match ended in DQ, which is a nice protection for LA Knight. I did not want to see LA Knight lose again. Okay? I know LA Knight beat Seth, but it was only because Seth sacrificed himself to fool people. So Seth beat LA Knight in 14 minutes by DQ. Because CM Punk hopped the barricade and attacked Rollins. And then after the match, Punk worked over Rollins at ringside. Knight was upset about Punk interfering in the match and pulled Punk off of Rollins. Punk blew off Knight and went after Rollins at ringside, but Braun Breaker comes out and does his thing as he does every single week and spears Punk. Knight went after Breaker, but Bronson Reed ran into him, blah, blah, blah. They were all overcome, essentially. As Reed held Punk, and then Rollins gave Punk a stomp. Roman Reigns, his music hit, people went crazy, and he took out Reed with a Superman punch, and he looked up at Rollins, who was in the ring, and Reigns climbed on the apron, entered the ring. Rollins did the cowardly thing and left. Breaker tried to hit Reigns from behind, and Reed went after Reigns. Eventually, Reigns got the better of everybody until he turned his back, and that's when Rollins stomped Reigns. Breaker held Reigns down and hit him with 2 tsunamis, and that was that. And a good night for Rollins and his cronies, because they beat down the 2 top babyfaces, the 3 top babyfaces on the show: LA Knight, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. A really good night for the heels. A good night for just good old fashioned heat on the top group in the company right now, which is Seth's group, whatever that's called. There's still no name, but I think it was overall a very effective night. We've now got, let's see, and Saturday it'll be 3 weeks until, is it 3 weeks? Yes, this Saturday will be 3 weeks. Yes, until Clash in Paris on August 31st. Which is the next PLE we have to look forward to. It feels like it's a long ways away. And that's because I'm used to a week and a half turnaround at this point for WWE PLEs, whether it's Saturday Night Main Event, and then you get some random Saudi event that we're all in love with so much. Then you have SummerSlam, and you had the Women's Evolution PLE, and then if you watch TNA or anything like that, forget it. NXT, you pretty much had a PLE every weekend for the last 3 months. Now we get a bit of a breather, and we get to wait until Clash in Paris, where things are shaping up nicely. Things are shaping up real nice, and then believe it or not, that is the last I think the last PLE of summer is Clash in Paris. Believe it or not, at least summer for here in the the Northern Hemisphere. So a good night. No Brock Lesnar, as I mentioned. They did not bring Brock out other than the mention of him and how he came back and Nick Khan and essentially saying, yeah, you come home and all the rest, which is fine. Again, if you expect Brock to be there even every other week or every other week, you may be sorely disappointed. You have to just go, Brock will be there when he's there. He'll be there for the big events. He'll help build up a match or two, and then he'll go away again for 2 months and come back. That is Brock Lesnar's schedule. It will forever be Brock Lesnar's schedule. And it's just cool to see. Put all the legal crap aside. If you can separate it, in other words, if you're a grown adult and you can separate the accusations, okay, from the wrestler Brock Lesnar, then it's kind of wild that in 2025 we are still seeing Brock Lesnar. You could say the same thing about John Cena. That whole class of Brock and John Cena, the same one that Batista was in, the same one that Randy Orton was in. I mean, out of all of them, Randy Orton probably has the most years in front of him. But the fact that we still get to see Brock Lesnar in this day and age is pretty insane. Because Brock Lesnar came in, and again, in 2002, if you remember, I believe he first feuded with the Hardys. And he was with Paul Heyman as the next big thing in 2002. I was a junior in high school. I mean, I'm sure everybody within the sound of my voice, I think, was alive in 2002, or maybe you were born in 2002. It's very possible. But I was a junior in high school, which feels like 400 years ago to me. And I just had my 20-year reunion. Well, my 20-year reunion for high school was 2 years ago. But my point still stands. Like, I was a junior in high school. Maybe you were older than that. Maybe you were in middle school. Maybe you were in elementary school. Or again, maybe you were just born. But take yourself back to 2002. And the fact that we are still 23 years later, 23, almost a quarter of a century, and we are now still talking about Brock Lesnar competing in a wrestling ring. It's pretty damn special. Think about that. I mean, sometimes we just take things for granted. Oh, legends come back, and yeah. Like, this kind of thing, from a pure wrestling perspective, if you are adult enough to separate all the legal crap from the actual accomplishments and what Brock means to a lot of different industries, particularly pro wrestling, then you can understand the really significance of Brock Lesnar being here. And just kind of yes, there's nostalgia with it. There's that nostalgic element, but also just the damn, like, it's kind of unbelievable that Brock's been able to keep himself in this kind of shape, and that we're still alive to see Brock Lesnar compete. Again, you can say the same thing for Randy Orton and John Cena, a class that is fading out. The Attitude Era stars have pretty much all faded out. The Rock can still come back now and then when he wants to grace us with his presence and start a major storyline and then just leave and pretend he has nothing to do with it. You get the occasional Stone Cold Stunner, and we did see a match at WrestleMania 38 with Stone Cold and Kevin Owens. Could Austin go again? I guess he could. Undertaker's done. Triple H can't wrestle. Big Show's no longer here. That whole era, Chris Jericho's not in WWE. That whole era is pretty much done. So the Ruthless Aggression era that is now phasing out, the last few are still unbelievably with the company. Other than Batista, it's the top 3 of the 4 of that infamous OVW class that are still here. In some way. John Cena's wrapping up his career in 4 months. As I said, Brock Lesnar's back. I don't know for how long, maybe a year or 2, probably no more than that. And then you have Randy Orton, who's still semi-regular and hasn't lost a beat. So pretty damn incredible. But those are the 3 big mainstays from the that whole era of Ruthless Aggression. You know what it would be? And this is just, I'm going to leave you with this thought. People are up in arms, as I said, about Brock and everybody that's pretending to be offended, and male feminists that are just, all women should not watch wrestling. I'm disgusted. It's just all just bowing and virtue signaling and nonsense and pretending to be offended. But if you think that reaction was bad, imagine if, and I really don't know if this is possible. I would advocate for it because of just the pure reaction that it would elicit from not just the wrestling world. It would, I think, overlap. It would cross over into mainstream. If Vince McMahon were brought back, not in any kind of story or, my God, a match, the dude's 80 years old, but if he were brought back just as some kind of quick authority figure for a night, or if he were brought back for WrestleMania in a special spot where he would be, I don't know, the referee, or he would be, he could be the host of WrestleMania or something like that. I mean, imagine the reaction from people. You think this was bad? Imagine Vince McMahon. I don't think they'd do it until everything is 100% clear with this Janelle Grant deal and Vince has put all the legal trouble behind him. But you thought this was bad? Just think about Vince McMahon being brought back. Not for a management position, an actual management position, not being hired by TKO, not being in the producers meeting or in any kind of creative position, just as an actual performer on a very short-term basis to shock the world and to be involved in some major story. It would be, I would pay top dollar to see that, to hear the reaction. Fans, whoever they are and wherever it happens, would explode. People would, you talk about a holy yes chant. If Vince McMahon's music were to ever hit and he'd walk down the ramp, if he can still walk, the crowd would go insane. They would lose it. Fans wouldn't care about the Janelle Grant thing. They would just be happy to see Vince McMahon and be there for the moment and excited. And you think, people would. No, they wouldn't. In person, in the moment, fans aren't going to give a damn. I would advocate for it because of the pure just insanity it would bring, the rating spike. I think it would bring mainstream attention. Sure, it would bring criticism on the company that have to be ready to defend it and be ready to handle all the legal issues. And, notice that they've stopped all the post shows. I know they stopped all the post shows. That's certainly not a coincidence. But I mean, I'm just thinking about that. And I'll be honest. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but I don't think we've seen the last of Vince McMahon on WWE television until he dies. Because when he dies, there'll be a big tribute, and he's probably not far off of death, given his age. So I don't think that, I do think that before that happens and he dies and whatever the case, cancer, heart attack, whatever normally kills men, I think that you will see Vince McMahon on WWE television again, whether it's in the Hall of Fame or it is in a big kind of cameo appearance moment at WrestleMania. It'd be a sight to behold. You want to piss off all these people that are all these people that are just trying to shut down WWE, which is a joke, and pretending to be angry. I would double down on it. Bring Vince back just for a very brief moment, very short term, to see what the fans do. You talk about controversy. That would give you a little controversy. So, alrighty, that'll do it for me here on the WWE podcast on this Tuesday. I'll be back on Friday with your mailbag, so send in your questions to mailbag@wwepodcast.com. You can also go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast. If you'd like to go ad-free, it's a good place to go. You can also do it on Apple if you want to go ad-free on the Apple Podcast app as well. So thank you, everybody. If you like us, give us a 5-star rating as well, and I will talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.